Hello, everyone. This is the Advocate, and I'm coming to you to share a story about when I worked in the domestic violence unit. And I wanted to share a story about one of the victims that I had helped. This girl, she was intelligent, beautiful, very and just awesome, very put together, very thought she was, what's the best word? She was a businesswoman, and she kind of had her life together. She worked for a company that is very popular. It's it's a cell phone company, and they were having a managers meeting or whatever at I think it was at Easton or something, in Columbus. And so she was really shocked by something that she had found out that day. She had been kind of dating this guy that was like a manager also, and he had been telling her that his marriage was over and that they were separated and getting a divorce. And so she had been in a relationship kind of with him, and so she sees him there at this get together and this meeting and team building thing. I guess I can't remember all the specifics on that side of it, but in the restroom, I think it was, she hears somebody talking about the fact that his wife is pregnant. And she's like, whoa, wait a second. That's clearly means that they're still together and he's been lying to me. Oh my gosh. I'm not really into being that woman. What in the world? So I think she kind of confronts him and if I remember correctly, goes back to her room and is kind of done for the night, kind of thing. And then a little bit later, I think he knocks on her door and kind of forces his way in. And he turns psycho. And he gets super aggressive with her because she was like, it's over, dude. There's no way I'm staying in this relationship. He gets psycho. He starts throwing her around the room. I don't remember if he forced himself on her and raped her, but he basically beat the living heck out of her. Strangled her with a phone cord, literally just beat her awful. And then, he left. Well, she called the police. He was arrested. And so that was another case where it was an assault. And she, wanted a protection order, and then it was very dangerous because it was a coworker, and I can't remember, but I feel like they weren't allowed to be in a relationship together. So it was there's just all this stuff, and then there was all these people were going to know that they had been in a relationship, and so it was awful. And So I think he also had money, and then on top of it, pregnant wife shows up to court. Oh, that was fun for me because, so I'm going to call her Grace. I got very close to her. She was so broken. She realized so many things in this process of who she could trust. Basically, it was her parents, like, and me, and several of her friends. Like, some of her friends kind of bailed on her because they were work friends, and everything was so weird with that. And the poor thing was so hurt, like, with all of it. It was like what she thought and believed was completely a lie. It was all a lie. And so I mean, the pictures were horrendous. Her petechiae was indescribable. It was so prevalent all over her face and her neck and her eyes. And I can still remember her throat and her voice being so hoarse because of the strangulation. I mean, with a phone cord. And it takes me to Suzanne. Back to Morphew. It's like, oh, her phone cord was always beside her bed. But what was one thing that officers never found? Her phone cord. Like, what did the people that abducted her and killed her take her phone cord too, Barry? Like, I mean, really, the stuff he comes up with is so crazy. But, okay, back to Grace. So, it was crazy. I mean, pregnant wife supported him through every hearing, and he had a good attorney too. He had an expensive attorney, and not one of my favorites because of that reason. And I was like in the back, like, I don't know how you represent these guys. Like, I mean, look at her face. Like, I just can't. I can't. I know they deserve, and that's our constitutional right and all that jazz. But come on. Like, there comes a point and a time when you know somebody really did something. How do you I remember one of the conversations that I had with one of the defense attorneys down in that area, and in his suits that were custom made, it says, like, you're a badass MFer on the inside of the, like, his suits. And I would ask him, like, how he did it, like, not being mean, like, just conversation, in the back room before we go into court, you talk, like, and he did lots of good things in the community. Like, he helped support, like, baseball teams for underprivileged kids and, like, everything, and did good things in the community. But I am like, but dude, you also let a rapist get free. Like, hello? Like, I don't know. That's just me, but I've been in the room for a SANE exam, which is a law enforcement, a nurse, and an advocate, which was me. I've been in there with a rape victim. I've been through domestic violence victims getting the crap beat out of them and getting picked up and taken to the hospital. And met them at the hospital. I've seen everything from A to Z. I've been to court with them. I've seen the evidence. I think my husband figured out at one point, probably just with Columbus alone, I probably served over 7,000 victims. So, like, this is not my first rodeo. I've seen it. I've seen it all. I've seen it all. Not only have I seen it, I've experienced it. I'm a survivor of domestic violence. I know what I've been through. And I just, this guy made my skin crawl. He was so neat and perfect, but what he did to Grace was disgusting. And what he was doing to his wife was repulsive. His wife did not deserve that either. And he ended up pleading guilty to something. I can't remember. It never went to a jury trial before it went to JT. He pled out. And so it was done. Like, she didn't have to go through that. And we didn't actually have a jury trial, which that happens a lot. For those of you that don't know how the court process does work. So there's always arraignment or some kind of advisement hearing. This is a misdemeanor court for domestic violence, unfortunately, unless it gets ramped up and then it becomes a felony. And then you would have a pretrial or 4, like, it just depends on how many you need. And those can be just discussions that aren't even, they're barely in front of the judge, like maybe for seconds, or they're rescheduled or there's something. I always tried to keep a good handle on those and make sure that I wasn't having a victim come down to court, like, and waste her time if there wasn't going to be a hearing that day. And then lastly, then there was a jury trial. If in the pretrial phase, we would talk to witnesses, we would get any evidence, like 911 calls, any medical records, any pictures, any evidence, like all that stuff. We would collect all of that. So in this case, I had to send officers, domestic violence detectives, to the hotel to pull their surveillance, to get the phone cord, to get the bedding, to get whatever. I mean, he destroyed the freaking room. The room was destroyed. And then on top of it, Verizon security and executives wanted to know what the heck happened. So he did get fired from Verizon too, I'm pretty sure, because of that. She might have too. I can't remember, which is really shitty. But long story short, I loved her so much. She ended up getting a great job in Columbus, and I'm not going to say where that's at, but she did get a great job, and she was so sweet. She sent me flowers, and she sent a gift card that we ended up giving to the domestic violence shelter for an auction, because I wasn't allowed to have that part. But it was just one of those cases that I could see went from tragedy to triumph, because she kind of just like discovered herself again in the midst of it, because it was so awful and ugly, and she was so broken and wounded, and she went to kind of finding herself in the process again, and like she had to start over. She started over completely, like everything, and she did so well at that. So that's the story of Grace. And yeah, it was a good one. It was a happy ending. So thanks for tuning in. If you would like and subscribe and share, that would be the best way to help me. I do have the Buy Me a Coffee thing if you want to help me. I just buy some, I haven't even done them in front of it yet, but I have like green screens for domestic violence. I just haven't done them in front of it yet. I like talking to you in my little like recliner. But I hope you're enjoying my stories. I hope that they help somebody somewhere. I have seen a lot, and I wish that I could change the world when it comes to domestic violence. And I feel like for a period of time it got better, and then it has just gotten so out of control worse. And I wish it would get better. I wish that there was a voice fighting somewhere that would make it so that women and children and, yes, men would feel safer in the four walls that they call home. So speak out and remember that love doesn't hurt.